Greetings, Batavia Mayor Jeff Schielke speaking to you on Friday, October 7th, 2022. And all things considered, I would tell you this has been a very good week in Batavia for myself and the community. We've had some things that have been done that I think show a lot of community support for each other, and several people I know who have been locked up in their home have gotten special support and privileges from their neighbors, and rides in cars, and people bring them food, and there's just a big effort going on. And now we're starting to have conversations about the Christmas toy drive, which I'm pleased to report, thanks to the efforts of Kane County, who has now withdrawn their COVID testing site from Sam's Club on Randall Road. They've pulled out of the building altogether, so they're not there. And right now in the building, we have an agreement that we can keep the toy drive for this year's Christmas season at the south end of the building. So those of you who have donated or participated in that, I'm pleased to report that we seem to have that together under the able leadership of Roy and Jeannie Bailey and their family. And we'll be starting to ask for donations for that here in the near term. Although I'm told we have a major amount of donations have come to us from a couple of very generous sources. So we'll be talking about that as we move forward. At the same time, the north end of the Sam's Club building, which used to be where they had some auto services with overhead doors, that's been rented to the Chicago Tribune. And so I'm told, I'm not there, but I'm told from about 2 o'clock in the morning till about 7 in the morning, they bring a team in every day and they deliver the Chicago Tribunes that are going to be then car delivered throughout the area, and they pack up the routes and how many papers are going on this route and that route, and then they are all dispatched from that location, and then they lock the door and come back the next morning. I had a person call me recently and suggest they thought that somehow or another we had agreed to let homeless people live there, and I said absolutely not, that we don't control that idea we don't own it, so we can't even begin to talk about something like that. But we have had the opportunity to talk about what we would allow to take place in there from a business perspective, and certainly the Chicago Tribune distributing its newspapers out of there seemed to be at least an interim answer, because there is some revenue then coming to the owners of the building, and it's not an offensive use. It doesn't cause a lot of problems, and we haven't had any since it opened. Immediately to the west of the Sam's Club building is the Pulte Homes Winding Creek subdivision, which is actively under construction, and I have several friends that live nearby there who are telling me every morning at 6:30, 7 o'clock you hear the construction and the tractor starting up and the earth starts shaking and whatever have you, and they are actively building on that property. And when it's all developed out, there will be the ability then to put 163 single-family homes on there, and they're going to be of either single story or they'll be two-story, and most of the lots are on the smaller size, with the idea that they're hoping to attract a number of senior residents who want to live in a home by themselves with their family, and they only have, a lot of them, about a 20-foot backyard, which is just big enough for somebody to put a garden in. So you don't have a big yard then to maintain, but if you want to have a garden, you can do that. So that's some of the thinking that's been going on here at the city recently between the city council and the community, and I think it's all been good, and it should provide some nice new people to our community and some added property value and tax assessments, and it should be brand new housing, well built by Pulte, and so I think Batavia will be a winner on that one once we get past the immediate getting the site ready for construction. In talking to the city council this past week, one thing that I think was relatively, we haven't made a final decision on it, but we have had some problems with people doing some vandalism with paint. And we've had some graffiti sprayed and painted on several buildings. Along the bike trail we've had some damage with graffiti. Several downtown property owners are having to repair their buildings, I guess I would say, because of graffiti that was put on there. So the city council last week agreed that the recommendation from Laura Newman, our city administrator, and myself, that we need to equip downtown Batavia with surveillance cameras. And so in the future, if anybody tries to want to start to spray graffiti or paint or do some damage, break some windows or whatever have you, we're right now working on the model of its locations, and we're going to pretty well have both the front and the backs of businesses covered, and we're going to have them running 24 hours a day. There'll be the type of camera that if nothing happens, it will just rewind itself and re-record, but on the same token, if something happens at any time of the day, the Batavia Police Department will have the ability to immediately, through technology, enter into the film and get a copy of whoever did what and what we saw in the film. So we're going to make it, you know, I think another guard action to protect downtown property in Batavia, and I think our plan will be to put it both on Wilson Street and on Batavia Avenue and in prime locations that we will keep an eye on what's going on. So I wanted to share that with the community, that is in the works, and we are doing it. We have been getting some interesting calls from folks about wanting to early vote, and as you know, Batavia our City Hall is an early voting poll, and that will start here on October 24th, and it'll be I believe it opens around 9 o'clock in the morning and goes to about 3:30 in the afternoon. So it's not a full day of voting, but it's a convenience for people who want to come and not have to stand in line on November the 8th when the main election takes place. So that will be starting, and as you know, also we've got City Hall under some remodeling at the moment, so there is some construction, so it'll be in the council chambers, and you'll be coming in on the south door of the building, and we hope that it all works together. If not, please work with us, because we are trying to get this put into place. You can go on to the Kane County Clerk's website, and there is a list of other locations in Kane County where anybody from Kane County can go vote, as long as they're registered in the Kane County system and they can be recorded that they did vote. So if the Batavia location doesn't work out for you for some reason, please just go on Kane County Clerk's website on the Kane County computer system, and you will probably easily be able to find another location in one of the other nearby towns where you can do your voting. Another question we've been getting is Kane County recycling, and right at the moment we've had to discontinue the acceptance of used batteries and light bulbs because we just didn't have a place to put the station for people to drop them off because of the remodeling that's going on. So if you have some, we would encourage that you call Kane County Recycling at this following number, 630-208-3841. Again, 630-208-3841, and they will give you instructions about locations where you can deposit used batteries and light bulbs. So hopefully one of these days we can be back in that business and keep Batavians the ability, give Batavians the ability to have their batteries and light bulbs dropped off locally. But at the moment, because of things we got going on here, we are doing some stuff that we have to foreclose on for the few months. One other thing I'd like to talk about in the community, we have a lot of bicycles and we have a lot of skateboards. And we recently had some conversations with the Batavia Police Department, because this past Saturday we had a pretty near bad accident on the West Wilson Street Hill where an elderly citizen was coming out of one of the storefronts that when you come out of the storefront, you come right out onto the sidewalk. And we had some young folks that wanted to use the hill as a racing course for skateboards. And I'm told that we had a really near miss of a senior citizen getting nailed by a person on a skateboard. And that could have really been very problematic. I'm aware of other situations in other communities where people have been hit by skateboards, and then it gets into, you know, does that skateboard have any insurance on it? Did the kid operating it because it's privately owned? And it can get to be a real messy situation. So I would encourage all the parents, if you got somebody out there with a skateboard, please make sure you get yourself some insurance on it. And secondly, we're going to try to kind of taper that down a little bit. And I think we're going to be erecting some signs saying that you're not to use skateboards on any of the downtown sidewalks where there's hills, because that just causes a danger. And the other thing we'd like to do is maybe hopefully work with the Batavia Bike Commission on some kind of an educational process where we teach all the bicycle riders that, hey, you're subject to the same laws as a car, and if it says, the sign on the street says stop, you should stop. And I've seen it myself just looking out the windows of our office here, because we got bike trails on several sides of City Hall. We have a lot of riders that just don't stop for nothing. They just come flying through. We haven't started any type of an enforcement program yet, but I suppose if we see too much of this continuing to be done in the fashion that it is, that maybe we will start to enact some enforcement on it, because we got to make Batavia a safe town, and we got to make the sidewalks good enough for everybody to be able to use and be able to walk around or travel around safely. And so those are all some of the great questions that are here. So the final thing I'd like to just talk about, and I hopefully this will be a very happy night in Batavia. Tonight is the annual Batavia Geneva football game, and the weather seems to have worked out famously for it. It's going to be at the Batavia High School athletic field, and so I am told by the folks at the high school, believe they've sold all the tickets for the place, and it's going to be a record crowd, and there'll be people. A lot of people will hopefully be able to watch it on cable TV with Alan Wolf and his partner, Mr. Lundberg, doing the announcing. They do an excellent job, so that will be available for Batavians to watch. And if you got, hopefully you got cable that will allow you to do that. But we're having a great year with the football team here the last few games. A lot of excitement around it, a lot of outstanding talent, and a lot of great coaching. And so I know there's been a lot of smiling faces in Batavia late. The season started out a little bit on the rocky side, but the last few games it's really been positive for the scores of Batavia. So tonight hopefully will be another one. And I'm sure if you want to go to McDonald's drive-through lane about 10:30, 11 o'clock, there'll probably be a line all the way around the building, because that's one place where a lot of people, especially the younger generation, that go to a game, they're down there circling, getting whatever they're buying at McDonald's. And so I had the managers of McDonald's yesterday talk to me about when we closed the school yesterday for, I guess it's the annual time when parents come to visit. They were overwhelmed with business yesterday when all the kids came in, that school was out, and they all wanted to buy something and be there, and they had record numbers of sales because of the volume of business. And I told them, well, be prepared for tonight and maybe the rest of the weekend. If they win, they'll be celebrating all night, all weekend long. And so let's hope that's the case. And go, 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 go Bulldogs, and let's see where we all go. So I'll end it now with a wish for a Batavia win tonight. And this is the annual Geneva game, which now is in its 100th plus year, and so we've had a lot of running around taking football pictures and whatever. So go Batavia, and I'll talk to you next week.